Dr. Taz, and welcome to my Facebook Live. Today, I want to talk about spiritual partners. And I discuss spiritual partners in my latest book, Transformation to Bounce Back. So I want to talk with you a little bit about spiritual partners today. Now, the question you should be saying, what is a spiritual partner? Well, the way I'm defining spiritual partners are those individuals that just get you. They get you. You don't have to be a certain way in order to be in a relationship with them. They just get you. And they accept you for who you are, the good points, the bad points, all your faults, because they genuinely care about you. They don't have hidden agendas. That's what a spiritual partner is. It is an authentic relationship, an authentic connection. And in my book, Transformation to Bounce Back, as I was journaling my journey about being out of work for 4 months, dealing with abdominal pain, and then the consequent constipation, we don't know if it was IBS or what, I thought about my spiritual partner. And in the spiritual partner that I thought about my friend Diane. I met Diane on the job, and it's not often that you really meet people on the job and you just click. Well, we clicked. We were from two different worlds, but we clicked. And Diane was the type of person who she marched to her own drum beat. I remember the first time I walked in her office and she was listening to country music. Because to look at her, you just wouldn't think that she really liked country music, but she did. And I like country music too. But she always was true to who she was. And therefore, for me, she was the perfect spiritual partner. At the time, I didn't think of her as my spiritual partner. I just thought of her as my go-to person. And by that, I mean, sometimes you know that what you're about to do is not the best thing for you. Hi, Betty. Hi, Tamika. Thanks for joining me. You know it's not the best thing for you to do, but it's like, you know it in your heart, you know it in your mind, but you need somebody external to tell you that that's not a good idea. Well, Diane just kind of evolved into that person for me because she worked with me, so she saw that side of me. I'm also an AKA, so she got a chance to see that side of me. And during the time period that we met, I was in college, I was getting a degree. And so she saw all those sides of me. And it was like she just accepted me. So, she saw me when I was high as in happy. She saw me when I wasn't so happy. She saw me when I was kind of, what's the word I want to use? Feeling icky, but really I mean pissed off. She saw that side of me too. Because she saw all those sides because I was doing all those things at the same time. And so that spiritual partner is an impartial individual who's going to tell you like it is. And the way Diane always did it, she was just real matter of fact about it. No, you don't need to do that. And then she'd tell me why I didn't need to do it. And then I'd be like, okay, thank you. As if I couldn't tell myself that. Well, I couldn't. Because again, I'm driven by something totally different. And I needed that person who could tell me no. And even when our paths went different ways and she was working at another job and eventually I was working at another job too, I'd pick up the phone and say, Diane, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, Teresa, no, you don't need to do that. And then she said, you don't want to be stuck on stupid. And then I think, oh God, I got stuck on stupid. Stuck on stupid meaning I know it's wrong. It's not benefiting me, but I can't stop it. I choose not to get off that hamster wheel. So I keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so, I loved it when she would say that because she didn't always just say it to me. We might be talking about a situation. It could be in the world situation. And she's like, oh, that person's stuck on stupid. But I really didn't understand the significance of being stuck on stupid until I was stuck on stupid last year. I was stuck on stupid and I didn't realize I was stuck on stupid. So, Diane, she always had my well-being in mind. When I needed her, she was there. She never turned me down. She was always there to support me. And when she wasn't, there was a hole. And even now, that hole is still there. It gets smaller with each passing day, but it was a hole because she was the person that she knew me before I was Dr. Taz. So she knew Teresa. And she knew all the ins and outs about me, the good points and the things that were not so good that I thought were good at the time. She knew all of that. And she knew that I could get overwhelmed. And she saw how I acted when I got overwhelmed. But she was that person that said no. And really, I would call her and say, blah, 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 blah. And she'd say no. And I'd be like, okay. And then I could go on about my merry way and not do whatever it was that I already knew was too much, that I didn't need to do, that was not benefiting me, and that was going to cost me in the end. But just having that person to say that. And so Diane was my spiritual partner. And God is funny. When she passed suddenly. Her friend from elementary school, we connected at Diane's funeral, and she became my friend. And she was my next spiritual partner, but in a different way. Pastor Tandra was the person who was with me when I did my first lives. So when I used to do my lives on Friday morning, she was there with me. She would encourage me because I'm going to tell you, I was scared to death. I'd not done anything like that before. And she was there. She even helped me coin the phrase. I think it was Dr. Todd's Live at 9. She helped me coin that phrase. And she was there. She was always there. We would talk all times, day and night. And we were able to be our true, authentic selves with each other. And I'm grateful that I was able to be that person for her. And so right before she passed, she spoke into my life. So we were on the phone a couple of hours before she passed. But I bring up Pastor Tandra because I talk about her in the book also, because she was another spiritual partner for me. She knew me as Dr. Smith, but she had sight because of the type of person that she was. She knew that there's multiple sides to everybody. And so she was able to be her authentic self with me. And likewise, I was able to be my authentic self. So true spiritual partners, they understand you. They get you. They're for us. They're there for us in the good times, the bad times, the times when you can't think, like I couldn't think a couple months back. They're always there for you. And they have your best interest at heart. So you need to be thinking about that. Who is that spiritual partner in your life? Because we all need that person. They could be a member of your family. They could be a friend. They could be a community member that you can truly be your authentic self with. And you know that person has your best interest at heart. They don't have hidden agendas. It's just you that they care about. Recognizing self-sabotage. You know, I talk about being stuck on stupid because I was stuck on stupid most of last year. And when I would call Diane and say, hey, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, sometimes we just get stuck on stupid, or we get so caught up in our fears that we are afraid to move forward. You know, fears and insecurities can really grab us. Thanks for joining me, Eugene. They can really grab us and hold on to us. And we think we're moving forward, but we're really not able to move forward because we may not think that we're good enough, that we're not worth something different. We're not worthy, but we are. We're worth it, we're worthy, and we are enough. So we have to get to a place where we're willing to invest the amount of time and care and nurturing in ourselves that we do for other people. And sometimes it's just easier to pour into others than it is to pour into ourselves because we can champion their dreams. But it's not always so easy to champion our dreams. So keep in mind, becoming a student of your behavior. You know, sometimes our behavior is influenced by the people that we have in our lives. But we have to become aware of what we're telling ourselves, the impact it's having, and why we're even doing it. Why are we telling ourselves that we can't do or we can't be? We can all do and we can all be. It's up to us to determine what it's going to take to keep us motivated so that we're doing that. Also, I think I do need to go back a moment because, you know, I remember years ago reading a book about toxic people or toxic relationships. And sometimes relationships are toxic or people are toxic for us and we don't realize it at the time because we're so accustomed to being with that person or being in that relationship. A person or a relationship doesn't have to be physically abusive. It may be emotionally abusive. It may be neglectful, which could then be emotional abusive. But we have to take stock in our relationships and the people that we attach ourselves to. You know, sometimes people leave our lives, and I've got this motto, and it took me a while to get it. It's from a scripture. They went out from us, but they were not of us. But if they had been of us, surely they would have continued on with us. So when someone leaves you, or maybe they threaten to leave you, let them go. Let them go. Because you see, if you can walk away from me, then you're not with me. You know, I think back to Diane. We were from two different worlds. We did everything different, but at the core, we were both good people, and we had that connection. It was an authentic connection. So we didn't walk away from each other. We were not the type of people that had to talk to each other every day. I think about my other friend, Paula, that I met in 1985 when I was a freshman at UNC. Paula and I are very different. If you would see us, you'd see the physical differences. But we connected in a PE class. And she's my oldest friend. And she recently moved across country. She was down in Florida about 2 months ago. Now she's moved across country. We don't see each other every day. We don't see each other every year. We don't talk to each other every month. But when she needs me, and she had deaths to occur, I was there. She got married, and I didn't know she was getting married. She got married real quick on me. And so I received an invitation because she had my address. And so the invitation was for Dothan, Alabama. And the person who took me to Alabama said, well, does she know you're coming? I said, no. Did you talk to her? I said, no, because I was dialing all the wrong phone numbers for her at the wrong time. And so they said, well, how does she know but you're going? I said, yeah. They're like, well, you haven't talked to her, so you haven't told her you're coming. No, but she knows you're coming. Yes, she knows I'm coming because she knows if I got the invitation. The relationship is such that it would have to be something very drastic that would keep me from being there. And so when we got there, her family, her new married family, were like, oh, so you're her friend from college? I'm like, yeah. They were like, well, go on upstairs. And so I went upstairs. She was adorning her skirt. And Paula's very simple, but she's simple, but she's not. Everything is very high class. So she was in a blue skirt and this almost like a Victorian blouse. I happened to have on a blue jumpsuit, which is very similar color. It was just happenstance. And we know nothing just happens with God. And so we hugging and everything. And so she's catching me up because I didn't know everything that was going on. And so when we did the vow renewal ceremony, I was there for her and a cousin. And I thought, look at God. He knew that I was going to be the person standing up for her as far as her friends, her family. And so I'm dressed in basically the same color. We didn't plan it, but look at God. Paula knew that if I got the invitation, I was going to be there. That's a real relationship. Sometimes we get sidetracked on what we think relationships are. The relationship I had with Diane was real. The relationship I had with Pastor Tandra, those were real, authentic relationships. We were nurturing each other, but in different ways. It was not toxic. If you're in a toxic relationship, you know it, because I've been in toxic relationships where it's all about that person, and they run psychological games on you to make you think that there's something wrong with you. Well, let's be real. And be real now, talking real talk. All of us got some stuff that we can work on. Me too. We all got stuff that we can work on, but that don't mean we're the worst person in the world now. So we can't let other people make us feel that we're the worst thing in the world. That's the reason why we need spiritual partners who can help lift us when we're embracing those toxic relationships that we're not ready to get off the stupid wheel from. But we know the pattern. So once you recognize the pattern, step away from it. And that feeds into loving and caring for yourself. You know, our spiritual partners remind us of that. When I would call Diane, when she was like, no, you don't need to do that, that was telling me, no, take care of you. You know, you running around, you're in school, you're working, blah, blah, blah. You need to take care of yourself sometime. You can't keep giving everything away because you won't have anything for yourself. So again, just as we want to support others, we got to learn how to support ourselves also, and recognizing that our happiness and our growth are equally important. They're equally important. And people who don't realize that or say things begrudgingly to give us the impression that they recognize that, you might want to listen to what they're saying, how they're saying it, and how their body, what their body language says to you. Body language is very important when it comes to communication and certainly understanding what type of relationship you've entered into. And I'm not talking just personal or romantic relationship. I'm talking every relationship. We have to be mindful of that. And so again, releasing those toxic relationships because they can prove unhealthy for us. You're trying to be the best version of yourself and somebody's holding you back because you're attached to someone who's not the best version of themselves, or they're the best version of themselves, but they don't want you to be the best version of yourself because they need to maintain how they feel about themselves by putting you down. So again, we have to be very mindful of who we connect ourselves to. Change. I know change is scary. I've made some changes in my life that have been very challenging. In my book, Transformation, I said the first chapter, the first message is change is challenging, and it is. It really is. I would be telling you hogwash if I told you it wasn't. It is. It's a continuous thing, but we have to embrace it. Because if we don't embrace change, we stay in the same space that we're in. And none of us want to stay in the same space your whole life, because that means you're not growing, you're not experiencing life. And so we have to get to a place where we can embrace change with an open heart, trusting that new opportunities are going to come for us and they're going to be beneficial and that we're going to grow. And then we're going to be open for the next change, because that's the way it happens. A change happens, one door opens, another door closes, then another door will open and another one closes. That's the cycle of life. And the sooner that we are willing to put the time in for ourselves to embrace that change, the sooner we will begin to see what's over the rainbow, because there is something over the rainbow. But the thing that I want us to keep in mind also is we have to trust divine time, the divine timing. You know, when I think about Diane's death and I think about her friend, Pastor Tandria, who she had known since they were in elementary school, she was in my life for a year. And it was almost a year later. It was like a year later, same time of the year that Pastor Tandria died. I was a bit dismayed. I spoke at her funeral. I was a bit dismayed because I could not understand why God would bring someone into my life that I became very close to, who knew Diane, and then like a year later take her. But I had to realize that her work here had been done and that I was better for having known her. And, you know, they talk sometimes in churches at funerals and things like that, that you should count it as a blessing. And we should be rejoicing that someone is leaving the world because they're no longer in suffering and all those sorts of things. And I am happy for that, but I'm sad for me. But we had a good relationship. So I believe that whatever I was supposed to fulfill in her life, I did. And she certainly fulfilled what she was supposed to fulfill in my life and is continuing to do that. You know, sometimes I talk about legacy. There are so many great things that I learned from her that I'm now utilizing because she was pouring into me the whole time. But I just thought I was listening. I thought I was listening. I didn't realize what was happening. So trusting the divine timing is very important. So don't go out trying to search for your spiritual partner. I want you to keep your ears and eyes open now. But God will bring that person to you when you least expect it. Because I didn't realize that was what was happening until after the fact. And knowing what role they played in my life. and continue to play in my life, even though they're no longer here. So, I felt like my support system was crumbling, but in fact, it was being solidified. Every time Diane told me, no, you don't need to do that, another brick was being laid on the wall. So she was building something that I didn't understand. And then when Pastor Tandra came, she refined it. So the support is still there. They're just not here physically with me. So don't feel that because someone's no longer there that was so important to you that you can't. They're no longer there physically, that they're not with you spiritually, because they are with us. So there are a few nuggets that I want you to think about. These are personal growth nuggets. Authentic connections, they're so important. Cultivate relationships when you're accepted and supported and not tolerated, because none of us want to be tolerated. You want to be supported and accepted. Avoid self-sabotage. Break free from the fear and self-limiting beliefs, because we all got them. But we can beat them down. I'm thinking about a cartoon. If it was a cartoon, we take the wheel and just roll all over them. Just beat that down. Okay, we all got them, and we can fight it. Love yourself. Prioritize your well-being first. Be careful about how you treat yourself, what you allow yourself to do, and who you allow yourself to come in contact with. That's a necessity. It's not being, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not being superior. That's not the right word that we would normally say. It's not thinking that you're better than other people, but you have to protect your peace, because when it's gone, it's gone. So you have to protect yourself. When we're around people, we take on their vibes, and we want to be around people who have good vibes so that we're taking on that. So prioritize your well-being and your happiness. Release toxicity. Now, whether that's people, relationships, food we shouldn't eat, release it. Things we shouldn't be drinking a lot of. If you're a sweet tea person, I know someone who loves sweet tea, release it. Because if it's toxic, it's toxic. You want to be the best version of yourself. So release toxicity and embrace change. Welcome change as if it was somebody handing you $50 bills. Or we can say $100 bill. And they just keep they've been handing you a $100 bill for the last hour. We're going to embrace that. So embrace change in the same manner. Welcome the new opportunities with your heart, because as you continue to grow, new doors are going to open for you, and those old doors are going to close. And I'll give you another nugget. When the door closes, let it stay closed. Whether that's professional, whether it's relationship, whatever it is, when the door closes, it's meant to close. Don't open it back again, because things don't always work well when you go back. Because remember, they went out from us, but they were not of us. Because if they'd been of us, they would have continued on with us. I'm talking about a person there, but it's also occupation, it's jobs, it's groups. When you leave them, let it go. It's okay. Let it go. So, and again, trust the divine timing. Believe in the universe's plan for you. We don't always know. I said to someone earlier today, they shared with me their plan. And I said, now, don't get so sidetracked with your plan, because we don't have the knowledge of God. But if we did, we might see things differently. So yeah, you work that plan, but work this plan, work this angle, and work this angle. Because we don't know why you're on this path. But if God took you to the path and you were able to do it in less than 12 hours and you were accepted into a program, because it was like, you need to do this program. They got accepted in the program. They beat the deadline. And the deadline was that day when they got the notification from God. They needed to do that. They did it. They got in the program. They completed the program. And they got an education, when I say program, they're able to work it. But, as humans, we have to balance it. Do I continue with what I was doing when I already know that's not what I want to do anymore? Or do I go the other path? You do both until you have solidified what the other path is truly going to be. And so I'm looking forward to finding out what her other path brings her to, because she can retire from her job, okay? But she was thinking about leveraging her job, doing her new occupation that she's gotten training for. But really, the sky's the limit. So as I told her, be open to change, because the blessing may come, the opportunities may come in ways that you hadn't even thought of, but it was in the mind of God when he told you that morning, you need to apply for this program. And when she looked it up, it was like, oh my God, the application was due by midnight that day. She got everything in and she's graduated. So when I talk about embracing change, I really mean that. We have to be open to the small voice that speaks. My mother always told me the first voice is God, and he doesn't scream at us. It's a soft voice. We have to be open to that so that we make the moves that we're supposed to make at the appropriate time. So thank you for joining me tonight. If you've got insights that you want to share, comments, please leave them in the comment section. Stay connected. Keep shining brightly on your path to self-discovery and growth. And remember, before you try to take care of anybody else, make sure you take care of yourself first. It's not being selfish. It's a necessity, and you deserve it. Bye now.